Hey, what's up everyone? It's Nick, aka Dreamer, aka Dreamt.Of from MT, bringing you guys a Forsaken Island hard mode guide. I would recommend that if you haven't already watched my normal mode guide or aren't skilled in normal mode already, before going into this dungeon, you should either watch that video and or go get your skill tag in normal mode, just so that the boss's regular attacks are already second nature to you and you're only worrying about new mechanics. Because there's so much stuff to focus on during these fights that also having to learn the boss's regular attack patterns isn't going to be a fun thing to do. I also want to preface this by saying that this dungeon is by no means easy, and when you're learning this, your runs will not be anywhere near this smooth, and you're going to wipe a lot. But that's okay, and even the best players in the game wiped while learning this dungeon over and over again. So, good luck you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Alright, let's get right into the first boss here. The first thing you'll notice about this boss is that he is way quicker than he is in normal mode. Same with the second boss. He attacks a lot faster, he moves a lot faster, there's no more highlights for his regular attacks. The main thing that you're going to need to watch out for on this boss is his leaps and spins. On top of the fact that he'll just turn around and start whacking the DPS every now and again, like you see here. He turns around a lot. See here, the jump. The way that the jump works in hard mode is that whenever he jumps to someone that's not the primary aggro holder, the tank, or whenever someone gets hit by his leap, he will do a spin afterwards. And that spin is something that you can't block. You have to get the hell out of the way. So be ready to jump away from the boss if you see that the person he leaped to wasn't the tank, or if anyone got hit by it. Another mechanic that's new to hard mode is right here, the pillars. Every 20%, I think it is, 80, 60, 40, 20, he's going to go walk to that place in the map and he's going to summon pillars, one more consecutively each time he does it. The last phase will have 4 of them. What you have to do is you have to break the pillars all within the same, like, I think it's a 3-second time frame, but you should break them all instantly at the same time every time. If you don't break the pillars all together at the same time, before his animation is done, then it will wipe. It won't fully wipe if you have like a Reaper and a Brawler and a Gunner. They'll survive it with their passive, but it's not really something that you want to take that much damage to. It's really simple. You can allocate people to like certain pillars, or if you just trust your teammates that everyone's going to spread out, you don't even have to say anything about it. It's a pretty easy mechanic. Most people time it so that you kill the pillars right when the boss jumps into the air, just so that everyone's on the same page when to kill it. The second he leaps into the air, just smash your pillar that's your designated one, and it's easy and ready to go. You'll see it again here. Just have people split up to different ends of him and kill him right when he leaps. It'll protect you from the wipe. And then you see our tank always drag him back over to this side of the map. That's primarily where you want to be fighting him, because sometimes, and this has happened to me, he'll go into that phase and you'll be mid-animation and you'll kill a pillar on accident just because the boss was already over there and the pillar summoned instantly. So you always want to fight him over here just to make the pillar stage never accidentally kill your party. Right there you see is what the Confuse Ray turned into. While he's spinning, he'll keep a secondary aggro on someone, and after his spin is over, then he'll just shoot a push laser out at them. It doesn't do very much damage, but it's really easy to notice. If you're holding secondary aggro while he's spinning, that's the only thing that it could be, is that. Another thing that you've seen multiple times throughout this is that he curses people every now and again. And these curses are a % of your HP over time. You can see the debuff on the right side of my bar right now, and you can see a little like fire thing floating above your head. This curse stacks. If you take multiple stacks of it, if you get 3 stacks, you instantly die. If you get 2 stacks, you're taking so much damage per second that a healer is basically going to be dedicated to just throwing heals at you off cooldown. And so the main goal when fighting this boss is that one, if you have a gunner or a mystic, they're throwing down their turret and their totems to catch the curse because any unit can catch it. And you want to split it up between all your party members if you don't have those kinds of classes in your party. And you want to keep one stack on everyone at all times, or one stack on 4 people at all times. And you want no one to take double stacks, and you definitely want no one to take triple stacks. If anyone is going to take a double stack, make sure it's your healer, because a healer is way better at healing themselves than healing you. Um, right after he's done doing his curse, he will do donuts. The donuts are random. It'll either start with the inner one and go to the outer one, or start with the outer one and go to the inner one, but he always does both. And those are both one-shots also, so make sure that you're ready to get out of the way when he curses. Other than that, I don't think there's much to this boss. He's just a lot faster. You have to be coordinated enough with your team to kill the pillar phase and be ready to split curses. If you don't have a curse on you, run up to him when he's doing curse. It curses the 2 closest units. Um, and if you do have 1 stack of curse on you, just get back and let other people take it for you. But yeah, as long as you're confident in your team that they can kill the pillars and you know to split curses, this boss should not be a problem. At least in this fight. He's kind of annoying in the 3rd boss fight, but that's for a whole slew of different reasons. I don't really think there's anything else to cover here. The pillar stage no longer does the HP and mana debuff that it used to in normal mode. Yeah, I mean, you basically just want to keep everyone alive, keep everyone splitting curses, and get ready for pillars when they come. All there really is to this fight. He has a shit ton more HP than he does in hard mode, so this fight's going to take a little bit longer than you're used to in normal mode, but it should be fine, and you shouldn't have problems with this boss. I mean, you might get used to him being a lot faster and stuff like that, but the real trouble comes when you're fighting him in the 3rd boss arena. So that's about it, and let's go over to the 2nd boss now. Alright, let's get right into the 2nd boss. He's basically the same exact fight from normal mode, except for now his thing's one-shot, and he calls them out, which is a little bit more helpful. The ghost lines don't one-shot, but his thunderclap does when he puts individual circles on each of you, so make sure that you're ready for that when that happens. He still does his purple ultimate, go touch a ghost, or retribution it. You're good to go. He also does that jump, which will push you off to the edges a lot. I'm pretty sure he also does that in normal mode, but that's not really that important to dodge in the 2nd boss fight, at least, because it does very little damage and there's very little repercussions for being sent flying in this arena. As you can see, the ghosts now come at you after they shoot a beam. It's pretty easy, just let them walk up to you, put down their circle, and just walk away from them when they explode. They do 100k if you do get hit by it, so be aware of that you'll probably only be able to survive 1 if you're at full HP. And make sure that you drag them off to the side for your teammates, unless you're in like a static and you're all very comfortable with people just doing max DPS and not stopping for stuff like that, and you're all ready to dodge it. Yeah, this should be the easiest boss for you to get a handle on in hard mode. At least when you're just fighting him alone, because, like I said, it's almost easier now that he calls everything out before he does it, and he just makes things very, very obvious. If you're a tank, you might have trouble getting used to how fast he is compared to his normal mode version. He's a lot slower in normal mode, and his highlights are everywhere, letting you know very visually how he's going to attack you. But you should get used to it really, really quickly. Just like any other boss fight. Be wary if you get secondary aggro on you, excuse me. You'll put those little pools down. If you step in it, you'll take like 10k damage and you'll get slowed. It's not that big of a deal, even if you do walk into it. Just try to make sure that you don't put it down on the boss so that everyone has to move and everyone's slowed. Yeah, basically the only thing that you have to worry about is dodging lines and dodging ghosts that fly at you. That's about it. It's not really that hard of a boss, not really that hard of mechanics to get used to. If you're a healer, just try to stay on the outskirts of everything because while your party is learning this dungeon, they are going to die a lot. This party is a full skilled party, so everyone knows exactly what they're doing, and that's why it's going so smoothly, but it definitely will not while you are learning this dungeon. Um, I've probably spent at least like 50 hours in the last couple of days trying to get used to this dungeon and trying to get good enough at it where we can just one shot it with a good party and not have to worry about sitting in here for 3 hours wiping at the third boss. But yeah, that's something that everyone has to go through. So don't get discouraged when you come in here and you wipe. Even if you do wipe at this boss, um, you know, everything takes getting used to and practice makes perfect. So let's move on to the third boss. Alright, now before we get into the third boss, there's some mechanics I want to talk about that I'm not going to be able to go into full detail in the fight gameplay because the fight gameplay just simply isn't long enough. We did the run pretty quickly and we one-shot this entire dungeon, so trying to fit in explanations for the mechanics is going to be hard, so I'm just going to do it in this beginning phase. First of all, the main mechanic of the third boss is that the entire arena is going to be surrounded by statues. And these glowing statues, when they're hit, they will die and they will summon a red highlight in front of them, which will be followed by a purple carpet that will one-shot anything in it. You can iframe these. If you're on the corner of it, you can walk out of it. Um, the carpet doesn't stay on the floor like in normal mode, it disappears instantly. So during the phase when you're going to have to dodge a lot of these, you can walk in between them right after they go off and you're good to go. Um, Now, not only could you accidentally trigger these by being too close to the edge and hitting them with your skills, but you're going to be setting them off on purpose to do some of the mechanics of this dungeon, along with the bosses having the ability to accidentally hit them if you're too close to the edge. And Desolaris himself will send out flying skulls to go hit them and fuck with you every couple of seconds. So it's something that you always have to keep in the back of your mind that you have to be ready to dodge a line if it's in a place where you're fighting. And on that same note, that when you are fighting the two other bosses that spawn inside of the third boss fight, you refight the first boss and the second boss. To fight them as close to the center as humanly possible to make your healer's job easier. Not only to heal you guys all in the same area, and not only so that you guys don't accidentally hit lines and kill your teammates, but so that they can do their job inside the fight easier. And if you don't know what the healer's job inside the third boss fight is, there's red totems that will summon during the first and second boss stages of this fight. These red totems will start filling up a bar that's on the right of your screen, and it's called the Spirit Surge bar. And when it hits 100, your party will wipe. So what the healer's job is, not only to keep you guys alive, but to run around the edges of the map and trigger the statues to purposely put lines down that will kill these red totems. Along with that, there is a ghost Baraka that will spawn that will fight against the totems and lower. The longer the ghost Baraka is alive, he'll lower the surge bar's number and count. So what your healer is trying to do is they're trying to kill the totems without killing the ghost Baraka and without killing you guys, DPSing and tanking the bosses. So just be very, very aware that your healer's job in this dungeon is 10 times harder than yours, and the least you could do is try to make it easier on them. Some parties like to do with two healers so that one can do this mechanic and the one can heal the party, but I've run into very, very, very good healers, and they have no problem doing both if their DPS understands that they're trying to get hit as like least as humanly possible and that they need to melt the bosses during these stages so that the healer doesn't have to keep up this charade for very long. You guys will see in the gameplay that I'm going to show that we melt the boss as fast as humanly possible so that the healer doesn't have to deal with the totems and the ghosts for very long. During the second boss fight, he will summon ghosts, and the ghosts will aggro to usually the healer, but if you're a ranged class, sometimes a couple of them will go to you. And you need to be ready for that, and you need to be able to kite them and not die to them just because there's one aggro to you. You can go off into the corner and you can set off your own purple line and iframe out of it and kill your own ghost if it bothers you so much that you can't kite it around. Most of what I see ranged classes do is they just kite them around in a circle, wait for the boss to be over, and then kill it at the end when everybody's fighting Desolaris again. But yeah, that's basically the things that you need to keep in mind, and I'll touch on them again when I start going through the gameplay. But I wanted to lay down all of that just so I didn't have to go into detail during the fight. So yeah, let's get right into it. Here we're starting off the third boss fight, and you can see the glowing statues on the side that I was talking about earlier, and that's the purple carpet I was talking about. This boss does normal attacks while you're fighting it. It shoots out lightning from it. It'll do pulses. It'll do suck-ins. Just it's regular stuff. Um, the first 10% is the easiest part of this boss. After 90% is hit, it'll summon the first boss, and you start doing the fight again, just like in the first boss's arena when you fought him. The only difference is that he no longer does the pillar stage, but everything else he still does. He still does curses. He still does donuts. Here you see the curse. It'll trigger on the two nearest people again. The stacks work the same exact way. The donuts work the same exact way. But now your healer has to run around and kill the totems and heal you guys. So just keep that in mind and spread out your curses, like I said before, and just be hyper aware that you're trying to not get hit. DPS on this boss isn't as important as not getting hit. For the second boss, it's kind of like an in-between. You kind of want to burn it really, really quickly just because the healer's job gets so much more hectic. But on this, you basically fight it the same exact way. It does the same exact moves. It has a lot less HP, so you should get through it relatively quickly. I recommend that if people die during that you get them up during the boss fight before you resummon Desolaris, because it's a lot harder to res people when Desolaris is up than it is to res people when the other two bosses are up. And he'll fly back down, he'll become uninvulnerable, and you get him down from 90 to 50%. And during this, and for the rest of the fight, Desolaris will now do the first boss's curse. So you need to spread out the curses throughout the entire fight. If anyone is ever down and someone needs to take a double stack, make sure it is a healer, because the healer is way better at keeping themselves alive than keeping a running and moving DPS alive. So you need to really, really, really focus on where you're standing during this fight, because you need to be ready to walk out of any lines like you just saw right there, where you just casually walk out of it, don't even have to waste an iframe. And then on top of that, he always does his Cloverfield, which is when he shoots lightning circles in all directions around him. The tell for that is that the chair will light up blue, the legs, it usually has like a little purple cracks in them, but they'll light up very, very bright blue. And most of the time there'll be a little skull above the boss's HP bar that'll indicate that some bad shit's gonna happen. And a little blue indicator will come up for when he's doing curse, and a yellow timer indicator will come up for when he's going into the air to summon the next boss. The second boss you see here is the exact same as fighting him in his arena, except for now he no longer does the purple ultimate because there's no ghost to run to get invulnerability. But he still summons ghosts, and these ghosts will chase the range classes around in circles, and they die only to the purple lines. And you see there, they just killed the priest. They hit really, really hard. I believe it's 100k per swipe, so they will end your life very, very quickly. But it's really easy to kill them if you get them while they're standing still or while they're all grouped up. You can just kill them with a quick purple line on the edge. If you're a healer, you'll get used to this over time. It'll get a lot easier. Your first time's going to be really, really hard to manage all of that and keep your party alive. But I promise you, it gets easier. And in my opinion, it's like the funnest mechanic in this entire dungeon is walking around the edge of the map, killing ghosts and killing totems and all that stuff. But yeah, you just want to, you save all of your stuff, you save Reaping, you save your brooch for the second boss. If your party isn't that fast and you can use your brooch and stuff like that and your really good buff skills loosely, then by all means do it, but make sure you have it up for the second boss. You want to kill the second boss as fast as possible so that your healer doesn't have to deal with the ghosts and killing totems for that long. Now, after you kill the second boss, you'll start fighting Desolaris again for his last 50%. And not only does he keep doing the curse from the first boss, but now he'll start doing the thunderclap from the second boss. And it's still a one shot, and it'll kill you. And there you saw me die to Cloverfield. It's once after the second boss is down, the mechanics start happening so close back to back, and there's so many of them that it's hard to keep track of all of them. And the one that I would recommend you trying to keep track of the most is Cloverfield, because Cloverfield will be the thing that will get you every time you're not looking for it. Always be looking at the chair's legs if you're attacking him, and always be ready to dodge out of the way for lines. Here you see every single minute, he'll fly up into the air, become invulnerable. I think gunners can still hit him, but I think that might be the only class. I don't know. Maybe all range classes can hit him, but he'll just like start spamming lines on the floor. And if you are a class that only has one iframe, then I feel very very sorry for you. I don't really have any tips for that stage. Just the more you do it, the better you'll get at dodging them. Your first couple times in here, your party's gonna wipe every single time on the first dodge lines phase. And another important part about the phase is that if you are dead during it, if you die during the line phase, you don't have to get up immediately. Even if every single person in your party is dead during this phase, it will not wipe the party until he is back down on the floor. So save your res, like you see me here. I have a res ready to go, but I don't use it because there's no reason to put my life at risk again. So I'm just waiting for it to be over. And even if my whole party was dead, I would still play it the exact same way. So here, right when you see him start sitting back down, you're going to want to get up, and it'll save your party from wiping. You won't have to use multiple reses during that phase. He always does a Cloverfield right after that phase, so be ready for that. Don't go straight for him. Wait for the first Cloverfield to go off. And yeah, just melt the boss as fast as you can, because the longer that you're dealing with all these mechanics together, see the thunderclap again, the more your party will die. It'll be like one person making a mistake and dying, and then the healer goes over to heal them, and then a line comes while they're resing them, and they die, and then someone has to go pick up the healer, and it's a chain effect. One person's small mistake can lead to the entire party wiping. So you have to be really, really, really on your toes during this boss fight. I think that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. If you think that I left out a very important detail about this fight, let me know in the comments below, and I will add an annotation if I think that you're right. By no means am I a master at this, and by all means there could be many things that I left out, but in my couple days of doing this dungeon and getting my skill in it, getting my skilled tag in it, I figured I'd put something out to help the beginners ease into the dungeon a lot more, because it's kind of annoying, not to be mean, when a new player who's never been in the dungeon before comes in and they just completely floor the entire time and they have no idea what's going on. They don't know the mechanics. They don't know what their job is. They don't know any of that stuff. So I hope that this helped you understand what your role is and what other people's roles are, and for you to better learn the dungeon knowing all of that. And I wish you guys good luck, and have fun getting your 77 clears for the new title.